Okay, Peter here. I just bought a new microphone because the GoPro microphone, I never had any success with it. With the there's too much wind noise when I was out riding, so bought a giant squid microphone because I saw somebody using it on YouTube and it seemed like it had pretty good sound. Whether it'll come through or not on this helmet, I don't know. So I'm just going to keep talking as if it's coming through, and we'll see what happens. So it's been a couple of weeks, at least, since I went out for a ride, and yeah, it's been pretty cold here in Bendigo, but it wasn't really the cold. I just had to do a little bit of work to the bike, and that's all done now. So I changed the oil, but the battery sort of went flat, so I just had to jump start it then. And yeah, I've got to keep it charged up, so I'm going to have to ride the bike more. So yeah, hopefully a bit of Roadcraft, but in the meantime, if there's nothing that I can comment on, well, I'm going to talk about mindset, what your psychology is when you're riding. So basically, how do you react to when you make a mistake? Do you get angry? Do you blame other people? Or do you try and learn from it? And you know, you really should be learning, because if you just blame other people, what's going to happen is the next time it's going to happen and you're not going to get out of it, or you're going to be seriously injured, something like that. So even though there's some situations you probably can't stop, there's 99% of them you can do something about, and the 1% you can't stop, you might be able to actually just knock off a bit of speed and make the accident not as hard. So yeah, it's all about psychology. And here's a car coming to the left here, so just watching it. I braked a bit there more than I had to, so we wouldn't arrive there at the same time. But when I could see how much he was slowing down, yeah, and I didn't look at him, I looked to the right, even though I knew he was coming in hard. I had a bit of a look to the right instead, because I already had him accounted for. I had my brakes on. Now this car, I've just got to watch him. Yeah, alright, they look like they're watching. And so, anyway, look, it's actually quite nice riding tonight, even though it's a little bit cool. And I might just go up the other side of Bendigo and see what it's like. So I've got to be careful with this bike too, because I just changed the oil, and I want to make sure that everything's still running all right. Bit of a flat battery, but apart from that, I think I'll be okay. So yeah, psychology. Now, you got to be. When I was younger, I had a bit of road rage, like you see a lot of these blokes, you know, shaking their fist at cars and stuff like that. Well, I was doing that too. And you know, you're young, you're a bit of a smart ass, and you think you're good on the road, but you're not, and you're getting annoyed with yourself, but you're taking it out on other people. And you know, what's the point in that? Like, these people that you're taking it out on, they could be, you know, a friend of a friend, it could be anybody, and you can't have that attitude, because it's gonna distract you from being a better rider. So hang on a sec, I'll see what my speed is. I think I'm going a little bit hard here. And so psychology is something people don't talk about much. And if you get in a group of bike riders and you start talking to them, you really should be talking to the old blokes, because they've been around. They know what's pitfalls that you can get into. One of the pitfalls that I'll mention is listening to these people who talk about racing lines. It's a lot of bullshit. The only line you take through a corner is one where you know you can do an emergency brake. So if you can straighten up and do an emergency brake and not hit something that's run out on the road in the middle of a corner, you've got a good line. So in other words, you've got to have conservative lines. And you can still do a reasonably good line, but minimise your leaning. That shouldn't be like all these boy racers. They always talk about how they can lean it over and they can get it over to a point where they're using all the tyre and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, but what happens when you hit a bit of gravel and you're cranked over like that? You can't see the gravel, even if it's only a small amount. You can't see it. You know, at 100 kilometres per hour, and your tyre's just going to let go, and it's either going to high side you, or you're going to just low side you. You're going to slip off. And like, I don't want to get into that. I never wanted to get into that point where I was having to worry about what protection I've got on because I'm going to come off the bike. That's just crazy. You shouldn't be riding like that. It's good to have protection on. I really don't have protection on at the moment. I've got gloves. I mean, they're only thin gloves. I think these gloves I'm wearing are for push bikes, but they're so thin I can get good grip, and I can get good feel on the controls on the handlebar. So I reckon it's better to actually feel your controls better than to be worried about skin in your hands, because I'm not doing 100 kilometers per hour. At the moment I'm in the city, so I'm doing 60. So most of my riding will be in the city, and I wouldn't put on a more robust pair of gloves going on the open highway, simply because I need that feel. I'm much more safer being able to have the ability to emergency brake at any instant and get my speed off than I am being able to just resign myself to the fact I'm going to come off and hope my safety gear is going to save me. Well, no, I'm sorry, but you can't resign yourself to that fact, or to that possible fact, because you're almost accepting it's going to happen. Yeah. So I mean, if you had my attitude and you had good protective gear as well, you'd be laughing. But unfortunately, a lot of people, once they start buying the trick gear, that attitude just really starts to get bad. I'll just stop for a moment here. Now the only thing I don't like about talking when I'm riding is it does distract you. I'm working much harder while I'm talking than if I wasn't. So there's a possibility I'm going to hit something if I'm talking. So when I see a situation come up, I'm going to stop for a while and then I'll start talking again. So at the moment, you know, I've scanned everywhere, and there's not much that can happen except for maybe a push bike that hasn't got its light on and I can't see it. There's people on the left there on the footpath. You've got to be able to see everything. I mean, it's not important that I see them, but you've got to know that you're able to. Now, so I'm in the left lane here. So yeah, psychology. Now, thinking about what can happen. Something could come in from the left there, so have a little quick look. You know, you get some people coming up to intersections like that at really fast speeds, and just they want to do that corner really fast. Same with this next one here, they could come up fast to that. So that's why that's why I looked in my rear vision mirror before I got there. So I'm always looking in the rear vision mirror. It's so important to know what's behind you. So, you know, at an instant, if a car comes out there from any intersection on the left, I can go to the right lane, probably won't have time to indicate, but I'll swerve into the right lane and overtake the car before he's got a chance to get there, or go for the brakes, go for an emergency brake. The second being most of the time the better option. But if you do brake and you do the emergency brake, just to remember that you can take the front brake off when the bike gets to about, say, 30 kilometers per hour or something, and steer again. So I see a lot of accidents on YouTube where they brake a lot. They seem to forget that when they get down to a low speed, they've got a lot of steering they can do. So don't forget that one. Now, just looking at this car up here, making sure he's going to stay where he's meant to be, and yeah, probably had a red arrow there. So this will be the normal thing now. I'll be talking while I'm riding, so it's at least you can sort of not think that maybe, oh yeah, you know, you saw that in retrospect. But no, I'm going to see it at the same time, kind of you do in a way. So I'm going to do a U-turn here. I'm going to go back into Bendigo and go through Bendigo. It's a little bit more work for me going through there. So all right, checking me mirrors to make sure no one's going to run up me behind. And this car up there, he looks like he's I have to stop for him. Look up that road there, make sure no one's coming down the turn. Chuck a Yui. Put my leg down there sort of to hang it out a bit, makes it a lot easier to do the U-turn. Alright, it's good. I haven't ridden for a couple of weeks now. It's actually good to be back in the swing again. So yeah, now checking these intersections on the left. When I'm not checking the ones on the left, I'm watching the cars on the right. Even though they can't get across to me, I'm still watching everything. So, you know, you haven't got, I don't believe you should be talking to people on the intercom unless you're a really experienced rider, been riding a long time. But when you're new to it, you probably should not have one of those intercoms. Because you're busy enough as it is. And even me, after, now I've been riding for, since I was 21 and I'm 57 now. So it's a long time. But me riding sort of got, now hang on a sec, let's watch this guy. Yeah, so I went down a gear and moved a little bit to the left there. So I had the acceleration to either go, and I had my foot on the back brake. I was ready to back brake as well. So now, and you know, look, you'll do this 100, 1,000 times and nothing will happen. And you know, people will stop for you. They won't pull in front of you, but you just get that one time when they do. And because you've done the right thing, you'll get yourself out of it. So it would be very easy for me to just continue back braking, and I could even go onto the footpath. Not a problem, you just ride straight across onto it. Don't worry about the rules when you're saving your ass. And yeah, so I mean, you can get on the footpath and you can be doing 20, 30 k's on the footpath. It's not a problem at all, back braking. So you know, one of the things that if you're a new rider, that you should do, the thing that where I reckon I learnt the most about me bike and about myself and about riding was riding on these really windy dirt trails, like those mountainous ones, but they're dirt roads and sometimes they're mud, and absolutely excellent. And the reason is because these roads exaggerate what the road is like. So you're doing a pretty low speed on these roads, but if you get your line wrong, you find out what happens. You know, you'll find out that you'll head onto the opposite side of the road or whatever, and it gives you a chance to have practice about the right cornering techniques without doing it at 100 kilometers per hour. So if you make a mistake there, usually there's not a lot of traffic around, and if you did have an accident, it would be fairly low speed. Doesn't mean you would survive it, you still could die, but it's certainly safer. Even though the road inherently is more dangerous, because of that you're going to be riding at low speeds because it's dirt, and when you get really good on dirt, you're going to be much better on bitumen. Just stop for a while. Yeah, don't have anyone hear me at the moment, so I'm going to go left here. I might go up the back of One Tree Hill. So I've got another place I go to occasionally, and it's called One Tree Hill. And I don't know how long my battery's going to last, so I'll keep talking till it runs out. And so yeah, still got an eye on my mirror there. The traffic's a fair way back, so that means I can concentrate on what's ahead of me a bit more. I'm going to turn right here. Now, starting to get on to night time here, your visibility gets a bit bad. Now I just looked in the mirror here, he's in left lane and he's going left, so he's not going the same way I'm going. So there he is there. Oh, it's a her, alright. And so yeah, your visibility starts to get bad, and if you're in an area where it's getting really cold and temperatures are getting down to zero, you're going to start getting ice on the road. So having learnt how to ride on dirt roads with mud and rain and all sorts of things, and slushy puddles and stuff like that, if you were out somewhere and you've developed your style to a style where you're not leaning a lot, you can hit a little bit of ice and you can ride through it. I don't suggest that's what you should do on your motorbike, because you know, obviously some of you are going to come off, but I found out years ago that you can actually ride in icy conditions, and I actually rode in the snow, and snow is actually better than icy conditions because the bike starts to act like it's riding in dirt, so that if you've got half a foot of snow or something, the bike starts to actually stay up. But I still can't believe I actually did it, because you know, being young and stupid, you do stuff sometimes, and I can't believe I didn't come off. But anyway, my battery's still going, I think, so still keep going. So yeah, the thing, if you're in your early 20s, what you got to do is you got to set yourself a training regime and go out onto some dirt roads and just get a feel what it's like to ride on something that's unstable. And then if you get into a bad situation and you'll have to ride on the dirt to get out of it, maybe, you've got dirt riding experience, so it's no big deal. A couple of things that have happened to me over the years where I've done the wrong thing but I got out of it, was that place I go to, Diamond Hill, that's in the last video, the really tight corner, that's the tightest corner there. That's the one where I came off. I came off when I was 21 there, and what I did, I was thinking I was going to ride like people were suggesting, that you ride like you're in a race or something, like the racing bike riders ride. You know, you come down to the corner, you're hard braking, and you over to the left, and then you, after you brake hard, you hopefully you're in the right gear and you head right round that corner. Well, I came down there and I did that, and I made a mistake. I didn't brake hard enough, or I braked too late, and I found myself on the far left with no road that I could use, and I didn't have the confidence to crank the bike over to the level that I might have had to do to get around. And I didn't want to get high-sided at like 70 k's or something, you know. So I stood the bike up, or the bike stood up when I braked, and I decided to run off the road and brake as much as I could. I'll just stop for a while. Okay. Alright, now I've got to watch it here. That car's coming up there, he's going the lane, and I can't see, there's something there, a car up there, without its headlight working. See that on the right? Yeah, so there's nothing now. Just have a little check there's no motorbike there, because you can get motorbikes without headlights going too, that's another thing. So I checked the shadows. So anyway, as I was saying, I stood the bike up and I braked, and I hit a little bit of a bump, a bank of dirt, and it just threw me over the handlebars, and I ended up in this, like a big ditch down there, and the sky was blacking out, like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle was all just disappearing. So I thought, oh well, this is it, I'm finished, you know. I knew I probably wouldn't feel the pain of what had happened to me anyway, so all I saw was the sky disappearing. And then it got to like the last bit of the jigsaw puzzle, and then all the bits of the jigsaw puzzle started coming back again, and my finger was burning because my finger was caught against the disc brake. The bike had landed on top of me legs. Luckily it bounced before it hit me legs, so I didn't break a leg, and it landed on top of me legs, and it was holding me finger against me knee. So I had to pull my hand out of this because I was getting burnt, and I broke a collarbone as well. And so that made me think a lot about my cornering technique, basically, what was wrong with it. And that's when I realised you're way better off, for starters, just going a bit slower, but even if you're going the same pace, it's better to turn earlier. And the reason is because if you have to stand the bike up, you've still got a lot of road left, and so if you stand that bike up, there's lots of road left, so you can brake really hard, you can knock off quite a fair bit of speed, and then you can just lean it over again. And so I don't do the kind of racing lines anymore. I do the ones where you give yourself more bitumen. Now the one on the left, sorry, the corner on where you go to the left, I think it's video, there's the bike rider over there, I think it's video 2, where I cut it really, I go right to the left quite a lot. And you might be, there's a lot of people on the internet telling you how to ride, and they say, don't do that, because if you're out the other side, you can see around the corner more. Really? What a lot of rubbish. Go out there one day to some road, have a look how much distance there is between where you are, say here on the left here, and where you are over here, and tell me how much more of the road you can see, because it's not much. And not only that, what are you going to see? I'll tell you what you'll see. You'll see a car or a truck coming your way. Now, what are you going to do if you see that car or truck coming your way? You're going to go back to where you should be, way over on the left. And so all you've done is waste time. You should have been there in the first place. And if there happens to be something where you're going at a certain speed and you just don't feel comfortable because you can't see too far around the corner, that's your sign to bloody, that's your signal to slow down. And so I get the signal to slow down earlier than what these other people do, because they are right out on the right. Hang on, just put my light back on. Yeah, so I might get a few cars coming around here. I'm going slow through here because there's kangaroos, and I don't know whether they come out in the winter or not here or not, but I'm not going to risk it at night time. Only going to talk basically this time, and this is just a bit of a to charge me bike up. I might do another video maybe tomorrow, and because this is really only talking, and like talking about bikes. When I was younger, you know, I used to ride like 300 kilometres to get me bike serviced, because there was a bloke there who was a really good mechanic, and he was a friend of a friend. So we go for a ride, and I go there to get me bike serviced, and I was only on L plates or P plates or something, which, you know, in Australia you can probably figure out what it is. Just got to watch out for this guy here, so just wait till I get past him. So, you know, this guy, he was probably 40 odd, hair's going grey, and I'm like 20, 21 or something. And this guy, he was a really good mechanic, and he was a really nice guy too. David was his name. And anyway, I could tell by the look on his face when he was talking to me that he really wanted to tell me how to ride bikes, because, you know, you see a young person on a bike and you think to yourself, oh geez, I hope they don't come off and kill themselves. So I could tell that's what he was thinking. And he gave me one tip, and I'll just tell you the tip in a sec, because I think the push bike's going to go past in a sec. Either that or he's turned around. Bloody hell, is that one or two? I think it's one. Yes, it's one. Anyway, what he told me was that he only rides on what he can see. So if you see what I'm doing here, that's exactly what I'm doing too. There's lots of stuff I can't see here, so keep it nice and slow. And if you want to, I can, yeah, go faster, who cares? You know, because I know the road, and I know most roads around Bendigo. But to get to know how to bloody ride, what you need is hundreds and hundreds of kilometres of dirt road, and that'll teach you to ride for sure. It's going to keep you relatively safe, and you won't be able to believe it when you get back on the bitumen, the confidence you've got. It won't mean you're necessarily cranking the bike over more, but when it gets a bit wet or a bit dirty, you won't be panicking because there's a bit of dirt on the road. You'll know how to handle it. Basically, when you see a bit of dirt, you straighten up, so you adjust your line so that you can go through that bit of dirt straight, and then when you get back to the good bitumen, and then you do your leaning on the good bitumen. So, you know, like, doing it automatically here, it's not even slippery, this, because it's a little bit wet, but it's not slippery. But like I said, the main danger here is not so much the road, it's the bloody kangaroos, you know, because I know there's kangaroos around here. So I'm looking for, if I see their eyes, they're shining back at me, I'm gonna probably get even slower than I am now. So at the moment I'm doing under 60 kilometers per hour on a road that I can legally do, you know, 100 along here, or either 100 or 80, I'm not sure what it is. Haven't seen a sign in a long time. Well, I think it comes up to a 50k's sign pretty soon. But anyway, attitude, admitting that there was something you could do in an accident. And generally, a lot of accidents are to do with you didn't spot that you had to slow down early enough. If you can spot that you have to slow down really early, and you can get on those brakes nice and early, you don't have to do an emergency brake anymore, because you're already at quite a safe speed, and you know you're not tailgating those cars that are in front. So yeah, I'm not here to show you how to go around the corners fast. I'm here to show you how to go around them safe and what lines to take. And like this perfect example tonight of how I've adjusted to the conditions. A little bit wet, could be a few kangaroos on this road, poor visibility, possibly a few people walking around or riding their push bikes. This is an area that gets a lot of walkers and people on the road. I'm not going to go flat out through here. There's no way in the world. I want to have a good ride tonight, and this is just because I haven't been riding for 2 weeks, and maybe more than 2 weeks, I'm not sure. But anyway, I'll probably go out, like I said, tomorrow or maybe the next day, and I'll do another video. It'll be a little bit better, maybe a little bit more roadcraft.